You are entering the bonus stage, a podcast produced in association with oceanofbees.com, with your host Marauder
and Phoenix923,
a podcast for all gamers,
console and PC alike.
Welcome to Bonus Stage.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the bonus stage. As always, I'm your host Marauder.
And I'm Phoenix923.
And this is a great episode because this is the first episode we're doing in the 2013 year, which is exciting.
Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year to you. Did you have a good Christmas?
I had a wonderful Christmas.
Good. Any interesting presents?
No, not really, since I kind of knew what they all were, but really helped that I got a lot of cash.
Oh yeah, because your laptop battery died.
Fun.
Yes. But hey, you got Paper Mario Sticker Star.
Yep.
I know. And you got, what else did you get?
Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance.
Kingdom Hearts 3D, yeah. Cool. Alright, well, let's get this underway. As always, we're going to start this thing out by checking out what's new on oceanofbees.com. There isn't actually a lot new. There's actually only one thing new, which is my review of the movie Django Unchained. So if anybody's interested in that, my view of the movie, go ahead and check that out. And I gotta say, without giving away too much of the actual review, that was fun to get all of our friends together and just go see that.
Yep.
That
was a blast.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I mean, even if the movie if it was bad, we still would have had a good time. But no, that movie was great.
Yeah. Alright, anyway. So, we got two topics to talk about in this episode. The first is, we're going to talk about something that was brought to light this morning by Phoenix923. And then we're going to move on to our top 5 games of 2012 and let you guys know what exactly we thought was exceptional this year. Or this past year.
Yep.
And so, that should be fun. So, moving on to the thing that you brought up, which is Angry Joe did a top 10 list of the top 10 controversies of 2012, where he basically talked about, various news articles and various things that were happening, and
just the biggest controversies of the year in gaming, in the gaming industry.
Yeah, and actually his number one on that list, I highly recommend everybody go check that out, that list. Because it is a well put together video. His number one was actually really surprising. I won't reveal what it is, but I was very surprised at that.
Yep.
So, but he brought up one thing that I just don't understand why there's so much anger about this particular subject, and I just thought I'd throw my 2 cents in here, and that is the Bayonetta 2 Wii U exclusive controversy. Essentially what happened was, Platinum Games announced a sequel to Bayonetta 2, Bayonetta 2 being an amazing game on PS3 and Xbox. Devil May Cry style game, just way over the top. It's done by Platinum Games, of course, so it's great.
You can trust Platinum Games because they make awesome games.
Yes, they do. I think I own all of them now.
Worth it. Worth every single one of them.
I don't own Asura's Wrath, and I don't own what's that other one they're releasing? Oh, the P100 on Wii U, but that's not out yet.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I thought we would... Okay, so the thing is, they announced that there was going to be a sequel, and that it was going to be a Wii U exclusive. And they also announced alongside that Nintendo was paying for development of the game. So, without Nintendo's support and without Nintendo's funding, the game wouldn't exist. And for some reason, I don't know why, but for some reason,
people got pissed.
Yeah, people got really upset. Not really sure why. Because they were upset that it was going to go to the Wii U, and nobody wants to buy a Wii U to play this game.
And not to their beloved Xbox or PS3. Aww. Because, as we all know, a Wii U isn't a gaming console to these hardcore gamers, but whatever. And the thing that confuses me about this whole argument is it's a Wii U exclusive. Isn't that what companies are supposed to do? I mean,
you can have the best console ever in terms of hardware, and it doesn't matter if you don't have the games to back it up. And I think that's what Nintendo is attempting to do here. Is, they realize that they're a little underpowered, at least when it comes to when the next PS3 system or PS4 or whatever is going to come out, or the next Xbox. They're going to get left behind again. So what are they going to do? They're going to go find those games that are going to make it worth buying the system for. And I was actually really surprised when I heard that they were funding it, because Nintendo, they don't necessarily shy away from M-rated titles, but they're not really a company going out to find them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the fact that they're throwing their support behind Platinum Games for this sequel just shows me that Nintendo's actually paying attention, and they actually know what they're talking about when it comes to getting games, because, like I said, you can have the best hardware ever, but it's the games that make the system. And that's, I think, what they're attempting to do here, is to get a good Wii U exclusive so that people go buy the system. Isn't that what you're supposed to do? I don't understand why people are so upset about it.
I think it's just mostly the fact that, they don't want to... they don't want to play their beloved game on a Wii U. Why would you? It's not a hardcore system. But I just find that argument pretty childish. I mean, even if you argue the fact that it's exclusive, who cares? You're still getting the game. You wouldn't be getting the game either way. Or you wouldn't be getting the game if Nintendo didn't, put money behind this game. So, what would you rather have? Would you rather get the game for an exclusive for a system? Or would you just never get the game at all? And I would at least rather get the game instead of just have that game be left in development limbo because no one wanted to back it. Or publish it, for that matter.
One of the points that Angry Joe brought up was the fact that it's coming out on a different system. Yeah. And I don't see how that's even a point of contention. I mean, if you look at any game series ever, in the history of ever, that's been running for a long time, that's not a console exclusive, like Zelda or Mario or something like that.
Oh, I have a perfect example of this.
I mean, yeah, me too. Like, if you look at Dead or Alive,
yep.
First one was out on Saturn, then it moved to PlayStation, then PlayStation 2 and Dreamcast, then Xbox, then Xbox 360, now it's on PS3. It's like, it's not a big deal. And there's, handheld ports out there as well.
Same thing with Kingdom Hearts. After it reaching its 10th year anniversary, it initially came out on the PS2, then they released a game on the GBA, then they released a game on the DS, well, 2 games on the DS, and one on the PSP, and now one on the 3DS, and now whenever Kingdom Hearts 3 comes out on the PS3. So...
yeah. So it's, companies that make these games are going to go where the money is. If they can get funding for it, they're going to do it, because they want to make this game, and if that's the only way to do it, they'll do it. I don't understand, okay, so you gotta go buy a Wii U. Is that really the end of the world? And let's say you don't really care to buy a Wii U. Alright, fine, just don't play the game. I mean, for everyone out there who doesn't already own a PS3, you can't play Uncharted. You can't play...
Yep,
that's me.
That's me. I do not have a PS3 or an Xbox 360. And how much I want to play Bayonetta on the Xbox 360 or PS3, or how much I want to play the Hyperdimension games that you have on PS3, I can't. Unless if I want to get a PS3.
Yeah, you're just going to have to, to everybody out there who's complaining, you're just going to have to live with it, or you're going to have to buy a system and just go ahead and get the game. That's the end of the discussion. The fact that this is even a controversy, I don't understand.
Well, it's just ridiculous.
If that's what the company wants to do, then that's what the company will do. And if you don't like it, then fine, don't buy it. But don't come crying to me when I go out and get it for Wii U and tell me I made a bad decision. Or I shouldn't support a company that does that. I don't care. This isn't like...
As long as the game came out, who cares? It's coming out. You have a means to play it.
Yeah, I mean, it exists now. It's coming out. This isn't like Capcom saying, well, of course the DLC is on the disc. I mean, this is a whole different problem. But this is fixable. This is not a big deal. Just buy a Wii U, and if you don't want to buy a Wii U, then don't buy a Wii U. You're just going to miss out on the game. But that happens with every system.
Yeah, every system has exclusives. I just think that the only reason why people are getting pissy is because they don't want their beloved game on the Wii U.
Yeah, not every game can be multi-platform, and this just happens to be one of them. And because you're a fan, okay, you can be a fan, that's fine. But don't go complaining to Nintendo. They're the ones trying to give you what you want. And just because you don't want to go out and get their system, well, then don't. But you're going to miss out on the game. That's just how this works.
Yeah.
Both as a business and as a general rule of thumb.
Because the reason why, because I don't think we really covered why it's coming out on the Wii U, other than the fact that Nintendo was backing it. But the original Bayonetta did not sell well. And and that's where publishers are looking. They're looking for how well the game sells. So if a game doesn't sell well, they're not going to be so encouraged to pay for a sequel when the original didn't even sell well in the first place. So then Nintendo's like, well, we'll give it a chance. We know that there's some fan backing for it. Why not? And it just goes back to my original statement. Do you want the game or not?
And I mean, if you even want to argue that, look at the company Platinum Games.
Yeah.
They started out making games for Sega, then they moved to Capcom. Now they're back at Sega and Nintendo. So what difference does it make? The Platinum Game series, it's been on the DS, it's been on the Wii, it's been on
every
360.
console. It's been on every console.
Yeah, it's everywhere. So don't come crying to me just because their Bayonetta 2 game is coming out on a system. You know what? I had the same problem with Infinite Space.
Yep.
I wanted Infinite Space, and I had to go out and find it. And I had to have a DS to play it. That's just how it goes. But, whatever. So just be happy it's coming out at all, and stop complaining, essentially.
Pretty much, yeah.
I guess my main issue with this is I don't even know why it's a big deal. Because it's really not a big deal.
Nah, it's just general thing with everything. People making a mountain out of a molehill.
Yeah. Anyway. So let's hope we don't have more of these in 2013. And speaking of 2013, let's look back on 2012 with some of the best games of the year. In our opinion. Now, the rules for this list are as follows. There's 5. We each have 5 games that we rated from 5 to 1. Each one of these games on the list is a very good game.
In our opinion.
Yes, in our opinion. I'll have a couple of honorable mentions as well as a disappointment game in the list. But essentially, the main rule is it has to have come out in 2012. It doesn't matter if it's a remake. It doesn't matter if it's an HD upconvert. It doesn't matter where anything. It just has to have been released in 2012. That's the rule.
So, if you don't like our list, then, well, shove it, because it's our opinion.
Well, then go make your own.
Yep, go make your own list. We'll watch it.
Yeah.
Why not?
Actually, that might not be too bad in the comments. If you want to leave a comment of what your favorite couple games of the year were, go right ahead. I'd be willing to listen to them and read them and check them out anyway.
Plus, it might actually give us some insight on some games we might not have known about. So
yeah, there's been a ton of games. I mean, what we've played this year pales in comparison to what was released this year.
Yeah.
So, anyway, with that beginning, I guess I'll start with a quick list of honorable mentions on my side.
All right. Since you play more games.
Yeah, since I played
more
games.
I won't be having any honorable mentions or, I guess, biggest flop of the year. because I don't really go out and buy as many games as my friend Marauder does. So,
yeah.
So go right ahead.
All right, honorable mention number 1 is Tales of the Abyss on 3DS. It's great. It's amazing. I'm really enjoying it. But the reason it's not on the main list is because, well, I haven't had enough time to really put into it. I'm only about 10 hours in, and I don't want to put it on a list of the best games ever if I haven't actually put a considerable amount of time into it.
Yep.
But if you have a 3DS, check it out. It's awesome. Highly recommended. The second one is Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed. Which,
what?
yes, which, given how much I loved the first one, and you know how much I adored the first one, this one's is good, but it's lacking in some areas. There's some characters missing. The really confusing thing is there's stages from games where the main character is not playable. Like, there's a couple Billy Hatcher stages, but then Billy Hatcher's not in the game anymore.
Even though he was in the first one.
Yeah, even though he was in the first one, so it just confused the heck out of me. But overall, it's another one of those things where it's just not as good as the first game. It's still a solid racing game. It's a lot of fun, and I highly recommend picking it up, but there were just a couple other games I had more fun with this year. And the last one is Sonic Adventure 2 HD Remake. And I'm just throwing that on there because it is my favorite game of all time, and the HD remake is a very nice remake. The reason I'm not really including it is because, well, it's my favorite game of all time, so it would be number one, so that wouldn't be fair to every other game on the list, so I'm just leaving it off. And I'll just go ahead with my disappointing game of the year.
Yep.
And I think you know exactly what I'm going to say.
Mm-hmm.
The most disappointing game of the year for me was Mario Tennis Open.
Yeah.
What a waste of $40 that was. I don't. If anyone's listened to this podcast before, it lacks any sort of comprehensive single player. It's all about the multiplayer, which is fine, except I really like to play through it myself and get good at the game before going online. And there's really nothing there for you in single player.
Yeah.
And even when you do get into the game proper, it's kind of lackluster. There's no super moves, there's no strategy other than hit ball to other side of court and pray the computer doesn't hit it back.
Yeah, that was so much. That was kind of the reason why I loved the Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance version of Mario Tennis, was because there was a sort of strong single-player campaign that you could play through. And not only did this single-player campaign, well, not only was the campaign enjoyable to play through and had a decent story to it, but it also got you good at the game, so whereas if you did run into someone and play them with a game, then, you know, you'd at least be pretty decent at it. But from what I've played with you and what I've seen, there's absolutely nothing to really do by yourself. You know, you could set up matches and whatnot, but that's pretty much it.
There's a mini game where you play the original Mario Brothers with a tennis ball, which is it's interesting, and I wish there was more of that in there, but there really isn't.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I'm gonna have to pass on it. I would recommend people stay away, but then again, if you're really into the online aspect of it, or the multiplayer aspect of it, you might be able to get more use out of it than I did, but I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Phoenix, and start us off with your number 5 best game of the year, and then we'll discuss each one of these as they come about.
Well, the thing with this game is I know you haven't played it at all.
Okay.
And it's kind of an obscure game in itself. But my number 5 is Fortune Summoners and the Secret of the Elemental Stones.
Nope, can't say I've ever even heard of that one.
Yep. It's originally a Japanese doujin game that was localized and brought over by Carpe Fulgur back in, well, hell, let's see, Steam page here. Yeah, right at the beginning of the year, January 30th. The game itself is a side-scrolling hack and slash beat-em-up game where with RPG elements in it as well, to where your characters level up, and you have 3 different characters that you can control and switch between based on their different moves. Arch is the typical tank sword fighting character. I forget what the other 2 girls are, but one of them is good with magic, and then another one is kind of a mix between magic and ranged attacks, which, you flip between them based on whatever certain situation that you're dealing with, and the game itself is brutally hard, being a Japanese game, which I like. I doubt anyone else would like that, but it's insanely fun. The only problem that I would say that I have with it is that sometimes it's just not descriptive on what to do or where to go at certain points, like where I got lost at this one point where I had to gain access to a dungeon, but I couldn't because a guard was there, and I had to find this one woman who was somewhere else in the world and talk to her and him, alternatively back and forth before he finally moved, and that one just kind of threw me off to where I had to, look up a game fact on. But the game itself is insanely fun. It has the challenge that I crave, and the story itself is, well, I'll just say it's adorable because you're playing as, I think they're like elementary school girls, which I just find funny given the type of game it is. But no, it's really interesting to play through. I haven't actually beaten it because of how difficult it is, but every moment that I do play it, I have a blast, and it's just really fun to work up the combos, which, yes, there's a specific combo system, which after you level up some, you unlock more different complex combos that you can unleash on enemies and bosses and whatnot. And it's just fun to play. It is originally $20 on Steam, but during these last final days of the Steam sale, if you release this before that ends on the 5th, you can get it for half off, which I bought it at full price, and I think it's worth it. So, there's my number 5.
Well, good. So we've got some obscure games that are out there in the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
Let's see. My number 5 would be Liberation Maiden on 3DS download.
Mm-hmm.
A Suda51 game done by Level 5 and Grasshopper Manufacturer, where you play as the president of a Japanese nation whose country is being overtaken by these giant metal spire things, and they're infecting the land and all that stuff. Whatever. The story's not important. It really isn't. The thing about the game that I love is just, it is a very high quality game on download. Because a lot of times with the 3DS, what you end up doing is you end up downloading a game and playing it and being like, okay, well, that was fun. But you never really felt like you got your money's worth out of it.
Yeah. That happens in a lot of mobile games, I feel, to me.
Yeah. But this is one that you could see a lot of thought and care went into crafting the game. The music is absolutely amazing. I can't praise it enough for the music. The graphics are really nice, and the controls they take a bit to get used to, but once you do, they work well enough. And yeah, it's essentially just a mech shooter. You fly around on top of this giant robot and blast away at boats and robots and spires and everything else. And the boss fights are fun, and I don't know. It's the best $6 or $7 I ever spent.
I'll just say this because I do love that game as well. Is that the first boss fight? I don't know what it was, but to me that felt like one of the most epic boss fights I've ever played through in a game. I don't know why. I think it was mostly because the music was just awesome and spot on during that first boss fight. But no, that first fight just really got me pumping towards this game.
Yeah, I mean, I remember you downloaded it and you're like, I could see myself playing that first level 1,000 times.
Yep.
And you're absolutely right. It's endlessly replayable because it is just so much fun. There's multiple difficulty levels, tons of stuff to unlock. There's only 5 levels in the game, so it's not that long, and it's not that difficult to beat. But I've gone back to it over and over and over again. And
multiple times. I've played through that game, all the way through, 10 times over, just because each level takes about, what would you say, like 20 minutes?
Yeah, 15 to 20 minutes.
15, 20 minutes each. And yeah, I just keep finding myself coming back to it if I have a spare 15 minutes to play, just because it's that fun.
I have the soundtrack now loaded on my iPod, and I just listen to it all the time. It's amazing. It really is. And another reason it's on the list is just what a big surprise it was. I go in expecting... Well, no, it wasn't... I didn't even know it existed. We were hanging out at my house, and you're like, hey, there's this new...
I just stumbled across it on the 3DS shop.
Yeah, you just happen to be looking at the shop page, and you're like, what is this? This looks amazing. And, yeah, you weren't kidding. It's so much fun, and it's good to see Nintendo putting some worthwhile titles on the eShop that aren't just, like, re-released Super Nintendo games and stuff. So that's my number 5. Oh, by the way, check it out if you're at all a shooter fan. It is a blast.
And it is pretty difficult.
Yeah, you can ramp up the difficulty. Yeah, some of those boss fights where like they're just shooting that long laser at you, and then you got to dive through the ring of light or whatever.
Yep.
Unbelievably difficult. So in some places, like, and even sometimes you get hit, and you're like, "How in the hell did you?" All right, whatever. But no, it's a blast. So I highly recommend that game. But that's my number 5.
All right, I guess I'll move on with my number 4. You might find this as a surprise, considering how much I've kind of complained about it. But still, I did quite enjoy while I was playing it. Is Paper Mario Sticker Star. Now, even though I
Oh, really?
Even though I just got it at Christmas, I was playing that game pretty much non-stop as I was, as the days were going on. And it was just really fun, and considering me being a Kingdom Hearts fan, and I got a Kingdom Hearts game during Christmas, and I was playing that practically way more than I should have, it really held my attention. The battle system, it goes back to the original Paper Mario on the N64 and GameCube type battle system where, it's turn-based, but it doesn't really have RPG elements in it anymore. It's more kind of an action-y game with a turn-based battle system.
Okay.
And what you do is, just to gain more health, you find these heart pieces that increase your health by 5 every time you find one. And the stickers themselves are one-time use, but you don't really have to ever worry about it because there's plenty of them just laying around the level. But my initial complaints with the game started after reaching like the last third of the game, because that's about how far I am right now, as I'm in the 5th world out of 6, where it's just, it kind of feels like they stopped caring. Because because you have this helper called Christy, where you can summon up by pressing the L button to give you hints as to what to do and where to go, which worked perfectly fine the first like 4 worlds. She was helpful. She really told me, led me in a direction that I should go without actually telling me what to do, and it just really, and
so like Navi, but useful.
Yeah. So it really helped drive me forward, and so I was never really lost. And then the game itself being pretty interesting and fun itself, the story is kind of ridiculous over the fact that you worship a comet that's made out of stickers, but whatever. But no, it held my attention pretty much long enough to where I got I think I'm 15 hours into it, and I still haven't beaten it. And this isn't just because I didn't know where to go, it was because there's a lot of other extra stuff to do that I was kind of paying attention to as well. But the later third of the game was where I started having problems, where Christy was not being helpful at all. To where I was in the 4th world, or the 5th world is like this jungly level. So then I'm running around this one area going, I have no idea what to do, where to go. So I summon her, and she goes, jungles have high humidity, so it's bad for paper. And then she just goes back in. What? How's that helpful?
Thank you for that real world.
Thank you. That really did not help at all.
Piece of information. Yeah.
So during these last few levels, I've been using a GameFAQs far more often than I think I should be, because I have no idea. It's like it kind of feels like they just stopped, paying attention to the little details of helping you out, and just kind of put the game out, which is a real shame. But it still is fun, all things considering. I did put a lot of time into it for me, considering I just got it on Christmas. But, overlooking that, I still have a blast playing it. If you don't mind breaking your immersion a bit to go look up a solution.
Yeah, that's surprising, because the way you were talking about it, you didn't seem to really like it all that much.
I do like it a lot. It's just that's the one aspect I don't like, which kind of doesn't help, but I don't know. I mostly consider it just because I've spent way more time with that game than I would have than I have with Kingdom Hearts, considering how much of a Kingdom Hearts fan I am. I actually wanted to play Paper Mario more over Kingdom Hearts, just because I was having so much fun with it.
Yeah, I do really like the Paper Mario series. Never played the Thousand Year Door one, but I have all the other ones, and they're all great. I also have Paper Mario Sticker Star, but I have not started it yet. Because I'm going through a couple other games we'll get to when we talk about games we've been playing. Alright, so I guess I'll move on with my number 4, which is a game I was really looking forward to, and that is Pikmin 2. And I know this was already on the GameCube, but I kind of skipped both of the Pikmin games on the GameCube and started picking them up on the Wii. Pikmin 2 is so much fun. It's basically, I like it better than the first Pikmin game in a lot of ways, because they don't time you. So you're not in such a rush, and you can kind of sit back and strategize more.
But doesn't it have that day-night system thing where you have to do
Well, yeah, but
before?
exactly. But if you know that, like, if you go somewhere, let's say, and you're like, okay, I know I need X number of Pikmin, you can spend a couple days farming Pikmin out.
Oh.
And then
right,
go and do the objective.
Because the first one had that.
You have to do everything in like 30 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, so even though in Pikmin 2 it still shifts from day to night, and you still have to get back to your spaceship at night, you don't have a set number of days to
Okay, that's what I was confused
complete
about.
the game. Yeah. There's not an overall time limit. There's just a day and night system. So, I played a lot with my niece, because she's like 10, she doesn't really understand how to play it, but she really likes the Pikmin character, and Olimar and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll sit and play it. The thing they added from the first game is they added these little, I guess you call them dungeons, but they're little areas you go into where once you're in there, that's it. Like, what you bring with you is what you have. And you have to get through however many floors of the dungeon to get the piece that you need in order to leave. So if you lose all your Pikmin while you're in the dungeon, you have to go all the way back out, farm out all the Pikmin again, and start over. And so it adds a real big chunk of difficulty, which I actually really like. And they added a couple extra Pikmin types that are interesting, and I don't know, it's charming, it's cute, I like the characters, I like the whole strategy aspect of it, and with the Wiimote, it controls much better than the GameCube version. Granted, I've only played the first one on GameCube, but I prefer the whole Wiimote and nunchuck setup. I think it works really well. And yeah, it's an amazing game. My only complaint about it is it comes in the greatest hits style of game case. and I don't like that kind of game case. I know, I'm complaining about the art on the box now, but...
well, with you being you, it's kind of... I can see that.
It doesn't match the rest of the games on the shelf, so it looks out of place.
Yep.
But at least it's over here finally. I know they released it in Europe, like, years before, and it's finally over here. It's amazing. It's everything you want, and it's loads of fun. And I had a blast with it. So, Pikmin 2 on the Wii, love those games. Love the Pikmin games, but obviously number 4 of the year for me.
Alright, I don't know where this place is on your list, because I think you do have it on your list. But, this game, it was overall really surprising to me, just how well put together it was, especially considering, of its genre. And that is, my number 3 is Binary Domain.
Yep, I knew it.
Binary Domain is a third-person shooter where you're trying to quell this type of robot that this guy who's making robots that look exactly like humans, which in the game's setting is against the law, so of course you're going into Japan to go and stop him from doing this. And what you do is you just basically go through the game and take down the many different types of robot types and whatnot. It's quite far in the future. So from that aspect, it's kind of sounds like just a regular generic third-person shooter, which it kind of is in terms of gameplay, but where it shines is its story, mostly its character development.
Yes, I agree with that. It's very Gears of War-esque, except with actually likable characters.
It creates characters that you actually care for. I mean, like when you brought up the fact of the one French guy.
Oh, the French robot?
Not the robot, the guy he was with.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then there was that car accident and then he died, and you were like, "Oh, really?" Oh, I was
upset. I was upset when he died.
And it generates a lot of emotion towards these characters. You care that they're actually, about what they're doing and where they're going, unlike, I guess, other people would probably disagree with me, but with Gears of War, where you're just kind of a grunting mass of muscle and bulk just charging through enemies with really nothing else going for you.
That's another thing I really liked about Binary Domain was the look of the armor.
Yes.
That they all wore, because it was practical, but it wasn't over the top. Because Gears of War always reminded me of the guys from Unreal Tournament.
Yeah, where they're wearing like 10-inch body armor.
Yeah, they're wearing like steel chest plates that are like 10 inches thick. Yeah, and their heads are like ducked down into this little crevice, into this neck brace, and it's like.
And the overall look of it as well, it's not a black, white, brown, gray game. It actually has quite a lot of color in it as well.
And you know what surprised me was the moment when you had to wait for the French guy and you're at that little like cafe.
Yep.
I just walked around and looked at stuff. I thought it looked amazing. And just the little touches, like walking up to a table and having the menu like come up out of the table. Mm-hmm. Just little things like that. I thought were really, really well done.
And another pretty fun thing is the enemy AI in the game. The enemy AI is actually pretty fantastic.
It's brutal.
Yes, it is brutal. Like, the robots, you can blow off their limbs and whatnot, which, which is pretty cool to see, like, their arm blow off and then all the little pieces go flying off. And the same with just wearing down their armor. Their armor breaks off of their initial body until you get to the more, I guess...
You get to the electronics underneath it.
Yeah, that. But, like, say, for instance, you blow off the legs of a robot, but he's still alive. He starts crawling at you.
He'll take his gun and he'll try to like lean up against a wall and start to try to take you out.
He'll do that, or if you take out a robot if you take out his gun and something, then he'll like shove a grenade in his mouth and charge at you. You know, they do everything they can to stop you. It's not like you blow off their legs and then they're harmless. No, they're far from it. You know,
it kind of reminds me of Ninja Gaiden 2 in a way, because in Ninja Gaiden 2 on the Xbox, if you didn't finish off a ninja, he would shove an explosive in his chest and then hug you until he explodes. It reminded me of that, because they'll shove a grenade in their mouth and like start crawling towards you.
Mm-hmm.
And if they grab onto your foot, they do not let go until they explode.
Yep. And then there's also the little helper aspect of that too, whereas if you blow off their heads, then they get confused and they start shooting at the other robots helping you out. And then the other robots are distracted by this robot, so then, you know, it gives you a little bit of breathing time during the fight.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, it's just, for that genre, I'm really surprised how much I liked it.
Yeah, because you're not a shooter fan. I was actually really surprised when you picked it up, because you bought it on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really surprised how much you liked it, because I didn't peg you really as a shooter fan.
Yep.
I know you like shooters because you play Payday and all that other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, it didn't seem like the kind of game you'd be into.
A third-person shooter, Gears of War Z type shooter.
Yeah, hide behind chest-high walls and shoot it. But yeah, there's so much more to that game than just being a shooter.
Mm-hmm.
I think it really develops a world that you just want to see more of.
Yep.
So, well, that's good. Yeah, Binary Domain is awesome. So, all right, I guess I'll move on with my number 3, which is another Wii game. I have a lot of Wii games on my list. Number 3 is Xenoblade Chronicles, or Xenoblade Chronicles, however you want to say it. This is an RPG done by Monolith Soft and brought over here by Nintendo, sold exclusively at GameStop. So, you know, I had to actually go to GameStop to get it. But it is an amazing game. Absolutely amazing game. In terms of RPGs, I've been looking for something that kind of brings back the feeling of the old Final Fantasies.
Yeah.
Like Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy...
Yeah, that's kind of my issue with the latest Final Fantasies, is that they're just getting too futuristic-y for me.
Yeah. Like, and I think Xenoblade hit a better balance for me than, say, Final Fantasy XIII did, where it is a futuristic environment, but it's not to the point of being ridiculously science fiction-esque, if you know what I mean. Like, they still live in little, you know, thatched houses, and they still go around in open fields that just look beautiful, and they have weapons, but their armor is still made of leather and chainmail and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
So they still have, like, futuristic weapons, but there's a degree of fantasy to it that the whole old, like, I don't know how to say it, like, swords and armor kind of
swords
thing about
and sorcery type RPG.
Yeah, exactly. It's still got a really good dose of that. And the story is interesting. It's not the greatest story I've ever played through, but it is compelling enough to keep you going. The characters are likable, and they are voiced by an entirely British voice cast, which a lot of people didn't like, but I actually thought it gave it a lot more character than it would otherwise if it was just done in English again. Because essentially what they did was they just brought over the European copy and just released it in the US. So they didn't have to recode everything and retranslate everything.
I'll just say this, for if anyone gets this, you know, here's an internet cookie for you, but in terms of, like, voice acting, hi, Wendy Lee.
Yes, Wendy Lee is in the game. It's so weird how you can just pick her out of a crowd, but you know it's really well done.
I don't think she is.
Is she in?
No,
she's in the. Is she in the game?
No, because it's an all British cast. I was just making a joke on that, how she's in everything.
Oh, okay. I was like, I thought maybe you were farther than I was.
I can't play that game.
Oh, right. But yeah, no, it is an absolutely beautiful game on the Wii. It really proves what can be done on the Wii, if you actually want to try. And, all the praise to this game. It's absolutely amazing. I know that, Phoenix, you have it, but you can't play it because you don't have a high-def TV set.
Yeah, that's the problem there. Because all the text is all itty-bitty, and I'm straining my eyes trying to play it, and that's not good in an RPG where you gotta read what the characters are saying, you gotta go through all the menus, you gotta read your stats, you gotta go through all this.
Yeah.
It's just I can't play more than 10 minutes without my eyes start bleeding because of that.
Yeah, luckily I have my Wii hooked up through component cables, so I'm getting 480p, and it looks really nice. But yeah, I highly recommend this to anybody who's really disappointed with Final Fantasy. It's great. I don't know what else to say. Oh, and the setting is unique in the fact that you actually play on top of two gigantic monsters who are fighting each other. Or rather, who had fought each other in the past, and now they're like frozen in place, and you built cities on top of them. So as you move through the fields and as you move through the different areas, off in the distance you'll just see like the arm of the monster. And it's really creative. I haven't seen an RPG like that ever. Granted, I don't play a whole lot of RPGs, but I don't ever remember a game with a setting like that. And my only complaint with the game is I don't really care for the way quests are handled. Like, you'll go into a town and you'll get a bunch of quests, but then when you complete the quest, it doesn't just give you the experience. You have to go find the person who gave you the quest and turn it in. But the problem is, the map doesn't keep track of where that person is, so it's hard to find them again. And when you go into a city, sometimes you'll get 10, 12 quests at a time. And so trying to keep in the back of your mind, like, okay, this person is here, and and this person is there. It gets kind of confusing.
Yeah.
So I kind of wish that was handled a bit better, but everything else is amazing. I have no other complaints about it. So check it out. Xenoblade Chronicles is awesome.
Great. All right, start wrapping her down here. We got my number 2 is mostly because I am an RPG guy. I love RPGs. And my number 2 is Tales of the Abyss for 3DS. Now, I know it was in your honorable mentions, but that was mostly because you haven't really played it all that much, was it?
Yep, I don't want to put it on my list
Yep.
if I haven't put significant time into it.
Me, on the other hand, I've put pretty close to like 35 hours into the game, and I still haven't even beaten it yet. I think my brother beat it before me, and he clocked in at around 45-ish. Which is great, especially considering, how much you pay for it, which is, $40 for a 40-hour game. You rarely ever get that anymore. But the game itself is a re-release of Tales of the Abyss from PS2, where it's practically the same game, from what I can tell. I don't know, I haven't really played the first, or the initial release of it. But being an RPG fan like I am, it hits all of the right notes with me when it comes to an RPG. Everything, as you said with Xenoblade, it has that kind of futuristic-y feel, but it's not too futuristic-y, to where you have like a flying airship to get around the world, but the cities are just kind of like more closer to modern cities and things like that. The fighting system is done really well, where it's the same as, I don't know, Tales of Symphonia type, where you have like this 3D battlefield that you can kind of move around in, but whenever you're targeting enemies, you just run straight back and forth.
Yeah, right.
But the sheer complexity of the actual battles, there's a lot to do in there, aside from just, running forward and mashing the A button to attack, there's different techniques that you can use, and then you can mix those with different, elemental areas that get generated whenever one of your other characters casts an elemental attack. So if you use the right technique on top of standing in that area, you'll unleash even stronger version of that technique with that elemental twist to it. And then there's the super moves that you can pull off in there once you unlock those. And it's just there's a lot more than just running forward and mashing A, which I like, because in RPGs there's a lot of fights, and you need to find some way to make that interesting. The story itself is pretty fun. There were multiple times where I'm like, well, this is the final area. Oh wait, no, it keeps going, but not in a bad way. It still kept it really interesting in the way that, I wasn't expecting it. And like I said, the game comes in at 40 hours. That's not doing any side quests. I haven't done a single one, and I'm still nowhere near close, and I'm like 34 or 5 hours in. And I think it's just really worth your money if you want a good, long game on a handheld system, including, just for it to be on a handheld system, that's a plus as well to get, this type of game. My issues with it is because it was originally on PS2, they did have to scale some things back to get it to run properly on the 3DS, which... and I think they kind of still didn't hit correctly. Walking around the world map lags quite a bit, even though you got this really dense fog of war type thing over the entire landscape to where you really can't see much on top of it.
Yeah, I did notice that when I was playing. A lot of times you'll just walk into a forest and the thing will chop down at 10 frames a second.
Yeah, that's... It's really the world map that I have an issue with, because it can really just bog down and start chugging on that world map in specific areas. But other than that, I can deal with it, because I'm not really out in the world map all that much, unless if I'm looking for a specific town. But no.
Yeah, once you get into a battle screen or a town
or a dungeon works. Or whatever, everything just works perfectly fine. But other than that, the game is a gem. It's really fun, especially if you're an RPG guy like me. It's definitely something that I would recommend picking up, especially for it being on a handheld as well, because you will be sucking quite a lot of time into it.
Now, as to what was added, was there anything added from the PS2 version that you know of?
I don't know particularly, because I haven't really looked it up.
Right.
So, if there was... I might have stumbled across something, but I wouldn't have known.
But the amount of content that's there is still really impressive.
But the amount of content that's there is just impressive as all hell. I was expecting around a 20-hour, game campaign. Then I would have probably played through it maybe 2 or 3 times, like I have with all the Tales of games. But no, I'm 35 hours in and still haven't even beaten it once yet. So...
I still go back to the time when I started playing Tales of the Abyss, and a while back I got a little chibi, I don't know what you call them, but a little figurine that sits on right in front of my TV. And I didn't know who he was. I knew he was from a Tales game. I had no idea who he was, and for like a year he sat there. And I started playing the Tales of the Abyss, and all of a sudden it struck me that the main character in that game, Luke, is the character I have a little figurine of. And I was like, oh, well, that's convenient. Alright then.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, now I know him, and I like him, and he's an interesting character, so... I don't know. Every time I think about it, Tales of the Abyss, that's just what I remember, sitting in my room going, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Walk over to my TV. Oh my god, it's him. He even has the little, I don't know what you call him, the Mew character, the little blue Pokemon-looking thing.
Yep, Mew.
Yeah. Well, I know, but I don't know what you call those things. I forget.
Cheagles.
Okay, Cheagles. So, I thought that was kind of fun. So is that your number 2?
That is my number 2.
Alright. My number 2 is another Wii game. Go Wii! It is Rhythm Heaven Fever.
Oh, yeah.
For the Wii. I cannot believe how stupid fun this game is. And every single time I hear you playing it on the other side of Skype, I have to play it. It's really creative, the number of things that they came up with to do with just 2 buttons. So anyone who's not played it, it's
best of all, no waggle physics, or no waggle.
Yeah, there's no waggling, all you do is point at the screen.
It's just A and B, that's it.
Yeah, you just point at the screen, that's all you do with the Wiimote, is point at the screen to get to the menus, and that's it. Everything else is handled with the A and B button. It's the sequel to the DS game Rhythm Heaven, which I didn't like as much as I like Fever, and I think because Fever is a little bit more balanced in terms of difficulty.
Yeah. Rhythm Heaven on the DS is really strict in terms of, hitting
timing.
Stuff perfectly. Yep.
Yeah. But I don't know what else to say. You do the stupidest things. You put robots together. You play. What is it? You play like tennis with a guy in an airplane.
Badminton.
Badminton. Thank you. I knew it wasn't tennis, but yeah, you just hit the little thing back to him, and it's the dumbest thing. There's a game where you literally play as a monkey on a second hand going around a clock with monkeys in each number that you have to high five in rhythm to the music. But the thing that really makes the game, I mean, it's a blast, and it's got pretty good 2-player and all that, but the thing that really makes it for me is the music is incredible. I love some of the music that game has, especially the ones when they throw a bunch of them together
and
have you play. Yeah, the remixes. The remixes are really, really catchy. They get stuck in your head for days, and it is the simplest concept you could possibly think of for a game. Like, just hit A in time with the music, but it's loads of fun. So I've played it constantly, all the time. It's one of the only reasons I dust off my Wii.
Yep, I can attest to that. Every now and then I pop it into my Wii and just play it for like 5-10 minutes, go through a couple of songs, just because not only is it a good little time waster, but it's a very fun and addictive time waster.
My only complaint with the game is that there is no way to sync up with the TV's speaker. Because a lot of televisions will have like audio lag, and games like Guitar Hero or Rock Band, games like that, will have a thing in the options menu so that you can change the timing so that it matches the sound coming out of the TV. This does not have that, so it takes a while to get used to for me on my TV.
Yeah, I remember when you initially got it and you were having issues with one song, I was like, yeah, let me do it, I'm good at this, and even I couldn't even pass it. Just because...
Yeah, you were screwing up and you're like, what is going on?
Uh-huh.
Turns out my TV's audio is a little behind when you play a game, which is not usually a problem, but it is there.
But it's still a problem in a rhythm game where you have to hit everything in time.
Yeah. So, yeah, like I said, amazing game though, so that's my number 2.
Alright.
And I swear to God, that's the last Wii game on my list. I don't know why there's so many Wii games, because, to be honest, I bought a lot of PS3 and Xbox games this year as well, but for some reason, the games on the Wii are just much more compelling this time around.
Mm-hmm. So, my number 1 came out a while ago, actually, but was released this year, and is my number 1 just because of how amazed I was playing through it. And that is Alan Wake.
Payday the Heist.
No, that was last year.
Okay.
Payday the Heist is last year. But
it would win.
Yes, it would. But no, my number 1 is Alan Wake. It was originally released on Xbox. Was it released on PS3?
No, it was an Xbox
Okay.
exclusive.
It was originally released on Xbox back in 2010, and it was just finally re-released on the PC in February 2012, where Remedy basically practically upgraded the entire game. They reworked on the graphics. They just made it look all way more prettier than what it actually looks on the 360. They took their time in catering to the whole PC environment to where you have multiple graphics options that you can tweak and mess around with just to get the game to run right on your PC. And things like that. It's great that they actually paid attention to that in comparison to other console to PC ports. But I would just say if I hadn't known that this game was on console, I would never have known that this game was on console just because of how well this port is. But
that's a game I really have to play. I have it on 360.
Yeah.
Which I got as a gift a long time ago, but I just have not sat down to play it yet. And yeah.
But
I might just get it on PC just to spite the Xbox.
Hey, I think let me check right now. It is not a part of their 75% off sale. I think that was yesterday. But still. But the reason why it is my number one is I'll just be honest. I'm the type of gamer who really cannot sit down and play games for more than like an hour and a half. Just because that's just how I am now. But Alan Wake, I initially started playing it like sometime at night, played through the prologue and everything, and was really interested in it. The next day, that was pretty much Alan Wake the entire day. The entire day it took me to play through the rest of it and beat it, just because of how well the story was put together, the pacing of when you figure out things, the way that everything is set up, the whole mystery behind, what happened to your wife, and just the general dark secrets of the town itself, and revealing all of that. It was just phenomenal. I could not believe that I was actually spending my entire day playing a game when I normally don't. The gameplay itself plays pretty fluidly. You can choose which side of the screen. It plays in third person, but you can choose which side of the screen you want Alan to be on by hitting tab, and it'll switch back and forth. I like him on the left. But the whole combat mechanic to where you have to whittle down the enemy's darkness before you can finally actually hurt them by shooting them, or you can use flares or a flare gun to basically kill them right away if you want to use that ammo, and if you really need to. But the gameplay is pretty challenging in some parts, to where I didn't feel like I was just walking through. I really did have to fight my way forward. And like I said, the story is just amazing. I want to play it again, just because the story was just that great. The game itself, I think, clocked in at around 12 hours, and that was not doing any of the 2 special episodes at the end of the game, which I guess explain the ending to the first part better. But no, after that, then it practically brought up my playtime to about 15 hours-ish.
Well, that's really good
if I remember. But but no, especially considering, I spent $12 on it, and then I was like, oh, now it's like $7.50. But still, even then, it's actually worth it to me full price. I wouldn't mind spending full price on that game, just because of how great and well crafted the story was to basically hold my attention for as long as it had. And I was completely immersed in the game. Immersion is important in a game for those who don't know. But I was completely immersed in this game. There was nothing that actually broke my immersion in this game. And it was just it was just a phenomenal play. I can't say anything more about it. It was amazing. And
I remember when the 360 was first announced, Alan Wake was like supposed to be one of the big hit titles for it.
Yeah.
And they slowly were starting to show it off at like E3 or on TV. You'd see like little promos for it and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And just the concept, just the storyline of like a writer going with his friends to, or no, his family, is it?
Yeah, he goes with his wife to basically relax from the whole writer world.
Right. So he goes on vacation.
It's to help him come over his ginormous writer's block. To where he can't write anymore because of something. And they hope to just have him go on vacation to calm him down.
Yeah. I really thought that was an interesting concept for a premise. And then the game just looked amazing. Like I said, I have not played it yet. I have it on the Xbox. I probably will have to sit down and play it at some point.
It's a high priority play for me. Like if you haven't played it, get to it as fast as you can.
Okay, all right. Well, when I'm done with work, I will. When I get a couple days off coming up here, I'll sit down and play it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was one of those games that was really intriguing.
Yep.
And I'm glad to hear that it met your expectations.
Oh, it completely exceeded them.
Yeah.
I was blown out of the water, so to speak. You would get that if you played the game.
Okay.
But it's an amazing game, and especially since they really worked hard on the PC version. They completely upgraded everything in it. It's just nice to see that they actually took the time to work on the PC version other than just kind of lazily porting it over.
Right. Well, that's good. Okay, so my number one best game of the year is a game that came out, I don't remember, it was relatively early, but it's one we've already brought up, and that is Binary Domain.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Binary Domain. I remember hearing about this game. Where did I hear about this game? I think I read it in like a Game Informer. But it was from the same guy who created the Yakuza series, which is also one of my favorite game series of all time. So, obviously I had to pick it up, because if he's going to do a shooter, I got to try it. And I think that was a day one buy for me.
Yeah.
Went out to a store, picked it up. I don't know what to say. It's amazing. Like all those things you brought up, the spot on gun control, the character development, just the environments you fight in, the fact that when you shoot a robot, you really get that feeling of damage. Like you're actually hitting them. You can see the parts fly off. You can see the arm explode. You can see, the actual effect you're having. And even the side characters are interesting. Like Miku, the little like Japanese girl that Mitu'd in the Undercity.
Yeah.
I want to see more of her character. The little French robot, I forget his name, but it was
something Frenchy.
Yeah, it was something French. Just he was such an asshole. Like the whole game is so good. But they had these moments where they would stop and you'd just be kind of walking through like a destroyed city and you'd have a conversation with the characters in your squad, and it really gave them personality. It really gave them a motivation that you don't usually see in games like this. And by the end of the game, I don't know if the ending's always the same.
No, there are actually multiple endings in the game. It's based on how it's based on that trust system in the game with you and your other teammates.
Right. Yeah. There's a trust system in the game where as you interact with your squad mates, they will either trust or distrust you, and based on how well they trust you, they will do things like they will, be more apt to help you when you go down, or be more apt to cover you, or be more apt, really, even to listen to you when you give commands. But the thing that I really liked was the ending that I got, and I won't say what it is for those of you who haven't played it, but the ending that I got just tore my heart out. Really did. And I was like, this can't be the end of the game. And it was just, I've never had that feeling in a shooter before.
Where it actually tugged at your heartstrings.
I think the last time I actually had a feeling like that was with the original Call of Duty on PC back in the day. Just when you fight all the way through, I think you were fighting through Russia, and you get up to the building and you hoist your flag and the music swells, and it took like an hour of constant fighting to get up there. I got the same feeling again. It proves to me shooters aren't dead, because this year I've played so many just mediocre shooters, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you shoot them and they die and that's the end and you just move on. And this game kind of has a bit of that, where like you'll go from one area to the next. You kind of get into these environments where you can kind of see it happening. Like, okay, we're going to get ambushed here because I see chest high walls. But because you're having these conversations and because you're building these relationships as you play through it, you don't really notice it as much, I guess. And then they always throw something in, like there's there's moving rail segments. There's the one part where you jack the one robot, and you get to control him. That was fun. And the story is, it's not going to win any awards, but at least it was compelling. At least it was interesting. At least it kept your attention. Not like a Gears of War where it's like, oh no, we're being invaded by monsters. Let's kill them. Arg. Like, okay. Or Halo 3 especially really kind of upset me. But, I mean, likable characters, great graphics, great control. And best of all, it got released on Steam. This is how much I like the game. I bought it on Xbox Day 1, and I stopped playing it the minute they announced the Steam version. I pre-ordered the Steam version the minute it went on sale, and I waited for it to get released.
Yep.
At which point, I downloaded
I remember that day because I think it was like 2 days after you had originally bought it for Xbox, and then I go, oh my god, it's coming out. What? What's coming out? Binary Domain's coming out on Steam. Oh, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
I just bought it.
Yeah, because my general theory is I will buy most shooters on PC unless I don't have a choice.
Yeah, I had no idea this game was coming to PC.
Yeah, me neither.
I just thought that I was just going to have to miss it over how much, you said that, all the positive things that you brought up before its release, it interested me. But then I was like, well, I guess it's not going to come out. Then all of a sudden, it just popped up on Steam. I'm just like, oh my god.
It's an amazing game, and it's got color to it. The robots are green and red and pink and orange, and they're in like a Las Vegas style, like the Undercity. All the lights and the signs and the neon and the and you fight in that one casino, and then you go outside and it's actually daylight out. It's not, you get your murky brown, black kind of areas, but eventually you work your way into the city, and it looks like a really nice city, all white and stuff. It kind of reminded me of the game Vanquish a little bit, with the way it looked, or mostly Vanquish. And I don't know, I loved this game. It was, and considering it came out pretty early in the year, I'm amazed it held up throughout the entire year. It's really a game that I think a lot of people overlooked.
A lot of people have overlooked it mostly because they're like, oh, it's another Gears of War clone.
Yes, and it is to a point, it's obviously what they set out to do. They obviously set out to be like, let's do our third-person shooter, you know.
Yep.
But they added so much to that formula that they made it something really unique, and I recommend it to everybody I talk to. Anybody who's a fan of shooters just, you know, owes it to themselves to at least try it. Yes. It might not be your cup of tea, but it's a lot of fun. Grab it on Steam when it's on sale. Grab it on Xbox. It's also on PS3. And I think you can get it for, like... I saw a double pack on PS3 a couple days ago. You could get Yakuza Dead Soul and Binary Domain for $30.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not that bad. So if you have played a lot of shooters and you're looking for something a bit different, try Binary Domain. And also all of the little cool little I don't know what you call it, but there's that one skiing part where you get on the little watercrafts and you have to shoot through the city and then you're falling down the... Oh, so many good little environmental changes. It always keeps the game fresh and lots of fun.
Yeah, just one thing that I forgot to mention when I was saying it, and probably now since he's talking about Binary Domain, is that the only problem that I have with the game, well, not really because I don't care, but I know this is a big deal to a lot of people, is that there is multiplayer for the game, but it's incredibly weak in terms of being multiplayer. It's just a regular horde mode, or there's a deathmatch mode. And there's only, like, 2 or 3 maps, 4 maps.
Yeah, alright.
In the entire thing.
The multiplayer is a complete toss away.
Yes.
It was obviously not really thought out all that well.
If you're looking for multiplayer in this game, you're not going to find it, especially on PC. I mean, hell, even when the game was out, there was very few multiplayer lobbies. And now, I doubt there's really any. But
yeah,
the multiplayer in the game is pretty weak in compared to everything, if that really matters to you. But in terms of a single player campaign, it is phenomenal. So,
yeah, if you're looking for a Call of Duty style game, look elsewhere. I mean, but if you're looking for a really well structured story with likable characters and actually, you know, emotion, then try it out. I haven't played a shooter like this since the original Prey on Xbox.
Yeah.
So, it's, like I said, it's one that I think a lot of people skipped over, and they really owe it to themselves to go back and check it out, especially since it's relatively cheap by now, I would assume.
Yeah. During, like, the Steam sales, I think you can pick it up for, like, $5 now.
Yeah. And it's worth every penny. I mean,
it was worth the $40 I spent on it. For me,
I spent $100. What was the PC version? 40?
Yeah, the PC version.
Yeah,
was
I spent $100. I spent $100 on both because I bought the Xbox version for $60 and PC version for $40, and I don't regret it in the slightest.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, highly recommend that game. All right, so those are our 5 games of the year. At least the ones that we found compelling enough to talk about. And so to wrap it up, do really quick games we've been playing recently. And Phoenix, you can go ahead and start if you'd like.
Well, just a quick mention, Paper Mario Sticker Star. I've been playing that since Christmas. Yeah, I covered it in the top 5 games, so I'll just quickly skim that. I have to really thank Frenchie for gifting me Borderlands 2.
Yeah, I might as well throw my 2 cents in on this one, too.
During these sales. Now, I do know that Borderlands 2 is released this year. The only reason why I did not put it on my list is because I don't think I put enough time into the game to really have...
Because we sat down a couple days after Christmas to play it. I mean, it was a while.
Yeah, to really have a good judgment on the game. And I'll admit, the game is a blast. You know, the humor is spot on, the gameplay itself is great, and if you're a type that likes loot, this game has a lot of loot. So, but, you know, like I said, it didn't make the list because I don't feel like I've played it enough to make a sound judgment on it. Which, whatever. But still. But that's a game that I've been playing recently, and I picked up Jet Set Radio on Steam.
Yeah, Jet Set Radio.
Played through that quite a bit. I also picked up Gianna's Sister's Twisted Dreams, and I played through like the first 2 worlds of that. That's fun. It's a tough as nails platformer. Just letting you know that. It's the type where you'd practically die in one hit type thing. But eventually, if you last long enough, this little shield will generate around you. But then you only have like 2 hits, which it's still pretty difficult. Another one that I've been playing is Crisis. Well, actually, the entire Crisis series is what I've actually been playing through since our last podcast. I played through Crisis 1 and 2. The games themselves were great. I'm actually quite surprised how fast I played through the first 2. Compatibility issues on Windows 7 for Crisis 1. Just letting you know that if you're ever interested. I did have to do some things to tweak and fix it just to make it work. But right now I'm playing through Crisis 2, and I am amazed at how well that game looks in terms of being on my type of rig. You know,
it looks amazing.
It looks phenomenal. I keep using that word. It looks great. In terms of...
And it's not even running full spec either.
I'm not even running it at full spec. I'm at 720p on, I think, high settings. And it looks like it's on ultra to me. But no, the game itself is interesting enough to where I still am playing through it. Kind of quite a few games thanks to these Steam sales. But, oh yeah, and I just picked up Warhammer 40k Space Marine. Started that today. And They Bleed Pixels. That's another one.
I loved Space Marine, by the way.
Yeah.
It's really fun. Do you play with a controller on that?
Nope, I play with my mouse and keyboard. It works. It works perfectly fine with my mouse and keyboard.
My friend Ken was like, "Yeah, you're gonna want a controller for that." I'm like, "Okay." And I started playing with keyboard and mouse and didn't have a problem, so I just kept playing.
Yep. Oh yeah, and another series that I played through was the Telltale's Back to the Future game series. That was a fun play, I'll admit. But I think that pretty much is everything. Oh, and I did, play a bit of Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, but not as much as Sticker Star. So,
alright, cool.
Yeah, pretty sure that's all the games I've been playing.
Oh, let's see, what have I been playing? I just started Heavy Rain last night. I started playing it with Alex because he wanted to see it. Mm-hmm. And, oh my god, that game is absolutely terrible in some respects. I mean, it's a really compelling narrative, as far as I can tell right now. I'm about 3 or 4 hours into it. But the fact that you have to, control... The way the character controls bugs me to no end. You don't just move him with the left joystick like you would assume. You have to hold down the right... The R2 shoulder button, and then he just kind of walks forward in this robotic manner. Mm-hmm. And you kind of control him around sort of Resident Evil style. It's kind of clunky. But the narrative's interesting. It's not really much of a game. Imagine playing Shenmue, but taking out all the game aspects of Shenmue. So, all you're basically doing is walking around and doing quick-time events. But, I mean, I can see why people like the game, and I am really interested in it. I want to see where it goes. But it's not much of a game, if you know what I mean. Mm. Let's see, what else have I played? Oh, Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed. Played more of that. I finally figured out how to unlock some characters. And it being after Christmas, Alex Kidd gets unlocked on every version, so have fun with him. It's good. It's Sonic Racing. It's fine. I've brought up complaints about it before, and those still stand. They took out some of the characters I liked, and the items are absolutely boring to use. Like, there's not a single item that I get that I'm like, yay, I got the snowball. They're just really kind of generic looking power-ups.
Yep.
But the game itself plays really well. It's a lot of fun. The stages are amazing. If they could take the stages from Sonic Racing Transform and move them to the first game, I'd be a lot happier. Overall, I still prefer the first game, but the second one's not bad at all. Shinobi on 3DS, a gift I got from a sister of mine. That game's hard as balls. I don't even know how else to say it. It will kick your ass. And yeah, I played it for like 3 hours and I got past the first level and I was like, oh, thank God. And then the second level you're jumping on cars. I'm like, of course you are, because it's not already difficult enough. Let's see. Oh, I started playing Yakuza 3, which I've had for a long time, but I've put off actually putting any time into it. And it loaded. It had to install the game on the PS3, which took about a half hour, and then it played this cutscene, which took about a half hour, and then you called me, and I lost interest, so I watched the cutscene. It was pretty.
Yeah, that's what you said. That's what you were saying when I called you that day. Is like, I've been watching this cutscene for a half an hour.
It just went on and on and on and on, and nothing was getting accomplished. Man, there really hasn't been a lot I've been playing. I have a lot of games, I bought a lot of games brand new.
You played
recently.
Borderlands 2 with me as well.
Yeah, let's bring that up. Borderlands 2, that's why I haven't been playing a lot of games recently. It's because Borderlands 2 is sucking up most of my time. It's fun. It's a blast, but I didn't put it on my list for the same reason you did. I don't think I've had enough time. I mean, I'm a level 15 or 16, whatever, character right now, so that's not a lot of time to give it a decent recommendation. But all I can say is, if you like the first one, you might as well play the second one, because I don't notice much different. There's a lot of minor things they changed that I like. The ability to just pick up money.
It only does that for things that were dropped by enemies. You don't automatically pick up guns or anything, for good reason.
Right, but I mean, in the first game, you had to literally, like, if you wanted the money, you had to look at the money and press E and pick up the money.
Yep. So now any extra things that the enemies drop, like money, you just walk over it and you'll pick it up.
Yeah, which cut down on what I thought was really frustrating about the first game. So they got rid of that, which was great. Yeah, you still have to select which weapons you want to pick up, but that makes sense because you have such a limited inventory.
Yep.
So it makes sense that they wouldn't just auto pick up stuff for you. Graphics are great. The humor it's a lot funnier than the first game was, and there's a lot more to do, I guess. I mean, there seems to be a lot more to do, because I have like 50 missions in my queue. So, and I'm only level, like I said, 16, so. And, yeah, I mean, if you're into looting, you just loot to your heart's content. One thing they did that is kind of upsetting is they added the skeleton key as an item.
Yeah.
And the only, you'll go into a city and there'll be this weapons chest, and you can't open it unless you have a skeleton key. And the only way to get a skeleton key is to, buy it?
Buy a DLC that has it, or link your Gearbox account to your Steam account. I think those are the only two ways to get a skeleton key. And I don't even know if you get more if you start a new character or not, which which then you don't really see a point to it. I mean, our friend LZF, or Frenchie, he basically, as he said, squandered his skeleton key because he opened up the chest when he was like level 5. Granted, he said he never had to pick up a specific, I don't know, whatever it was. He never had to find a better...
He never got rid of the weapon in his inventory for a long time.
For quite a while, but it's best to use those practically when you're level 50 because whatever weapon's in there is equal to what you are at the time you use it. So
I don't know.
I don't like that too because I don't really think there's any other way to get the skeleton keys, which I find kind of bull.
There's also the DLC pack that he got because LZF, he pre-ordered the game at GameStop and got an exclusive DLC code that I don't think anyone else can get.
No, we can get it. It's just we don't get the key that came with it. That's with a different.
Okay.
That's with a different DLC. You get a different key for it. But what you unlocked was the Necromancer. You didn't have to pay for the Necromancer class if you pre-ordered it.
Alright, well, I don't know. All this DLC is confusing and it's annoying.
Well, I generally don't like DLC unless if it's actually expanding upon the game.
Yeah.
But
whatever. Anyway, I think that's about it. Let me check real quick and see if I've played anything else. There is one game that we can bring up.
Okay.
Because we both played it. Do you remember?
Depends. When did we get it?
It was a little before Christmas. Do you remember? Third person shooter.
Oh, did you
Similar.
Did you gift me it?
Yeah, the one I gifted you.
Yeah.
The Haunted Hell's Reach.
That was kind of disappointing.
That was a mess of a game. I got the game from a friend of mine on Steam as a Christmas gift, which reminds me I gotta get him something. Still. But, so, you know, I was like, oh, that's kind of fun. And it's one of those multiplayer horde-style games like Killing Floor or... I don't want to say Payday the Heist, because that's not really the same thing. But it's basically just hordes of enemies come at you, and you have to survive each wave. That's essentially the game. And so I bought it for my friend Phoenix here, so that we could play it together, and oh boy.
Well, it just felt pretty mediocre.
Yeah, it's not a terrible game. It's just not up to the level of Killing Floor, because Killing Floor is an amazing game.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really well put together. And the biggest problem I have, actually the only problem I have with Haunted is, well, no, I have more than one complaint. But the biggest problem is that the enemies can spawn anywhere they want, whenever they want.
Yes, I hate that.
And so, in Killing Floor, they have specific areas they come from. So
in Killing Floor, they spawn where you can't see them.
Yeah, they spawn in like back hallways, places you can't get at, and they'll like crawl at you and come at you. And that's good because you can set up a defensible position and try to hold them off and then move into another position and kind of fall back. Whereas the Haunted, they just swarm you on all sides all the time.
Yeah, they just spawn right on top of you. It doesn't matter where you set up your defenses. A group of them is just going to spawn on top of you.
They will spawn, yeah, right next to you in some cases. Which makes it overly difficult and frustrating because you think you're doing well and all of a sudden you're just getting hit from the back and you turn around and there's this demon thing there clawing you and it's like, how did he get here? I didn't see him. Like, you have no warning of when they're coming or where they're coming from, and that's kind of upsetting, especially in a game completely designed around horde mode and they just like poof into existence. I've never played a horde mode like that. At least in Binary Domain, which has a horde mode, they come from specific locations.
They come from specific locations and they spawn in areas you can't see.
Yeah, so you'll see them coming down a hallway and you'll have time to react, whereas the Haunted, you really don't. The only other... and then there's the aspect of the
There's that. Plus, the enemies have absolutely no charge time between their attacks.
Oh, that's true. They will just swarm you and attack you constantly with no pause. Like, at least in Killing Floor, I keep using this as an example, but it's a perfect example. When the guy vomits on you, I forget the guy that vomits on you, the bloat. At least when the bloat vomits on you, there's a little bit of time before he does it again, or the siren.
The siren or the husk.
Yeah, there's charge times between when they can attack you. So the bigger guys, you can kind of plan out, like, okay, here he comes, dodge his attack, okay, now pound him and get rid of him. But my other huge complaint with the game is healing, if you can call it that.
I have no idea how to heal.
Like, during the wave, there'll be this thing that happens where the game will alert you to, oh, hey, the Chaos Stone appeared. Is it called the Chaos Stone? I don't remember.
It's sometime Chronostone. I think that's what
Chronostone. Oh, right, okay. So this stone will appear, whatever, and you'll have to go destroy it. And if you don't, it just immediately gets grabbed by an enemy, and then
and then it gets destroyed.
Shit
and then
happens.
Stuff happens, and then there's a health stone that appears, which the game says you destroy the health stone to get health, but you don't get health.
I've never gotten any health.
I've never gotten any health from that.
I don't know if it's just broken, or if it just doesn't work. I don't know. I shoot it like it says to, and nothing happens. Mm-hmm. And if you let it sit around, it gets grabbed, and then you have to go hunt it down.
Well, that's another thing that I don't like, is that no particular one enemy goes to grab it. It's just basically you're timed until an enemy just goes poof, grab, and then is off with it.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I might make a video on that game at some point, because there's a lot to talk about. But that's one that I would avoid. I'd play Killing Floor instead, if you're into those kind of horde-style mode games, because it's way better.
Yeah.
It's far better. Still, I appreciate getting it for Christmas, because that was fun. Just trying it out, trying a game out I've never heard of.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fun to play, co-op, because I like anything that's co-op. But it just kind of fell apart. Anyway, so that's all I've been playing currently. I got Sonic Generations also on Steam from a friend, but I've talked about that game enough.
Yeah.
Because it's Sonic, and it's awesome, and I love it. And it looks amazing on... The thing about Sonic Generations on PC is I've been going crazy with the screenshot button. I've been making wallpapers for my laptop. So, that's basically the only reason I like it. Because I'm playing through it again, and I'm just snapshotting every couple of seconds. So that's fun. That's about it. The only other game I want to play tonight is I want to get into the game Journey, because I hear a lot of good things about it, and I did go out and pick that up.
Yeah, a game series that I have to get into is The Walking Dead, which I did pick up during this Steam sale.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, just because of how good people have been saying it is, So I can't wait to get into that.
Well, then we better wrap this up and get to this.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that would wrap up this episode of Welcome to Bonus Stage. I hope you guys enjoyed our top 5 list of the year. Do check them all out. They're all really good games.
And if you feel like it, drop us a line, drop us a question. Write your top 5 games of the year of 2012, if you want.
Yeah, I'd love to read them, because, like I said, if it's a game I haven't tried, maybe it's something that I'd be into. Who knows? So, if you want to leave comments and questions down below, or your top 5 list of the year, or even your just top couple of games that you recommend, go right ahead. I'd greatly appreciate it. And I think that's everything. So we'll just wrap it up here, and we'll see you guys on the next bonus stage. This has been your host, Marauder.
And Phoenix923.
I will catch you guys on the next bonus stage.